Happy Easter. As they say in the Eastern churches, Christ is risen, and the reply, He is risen indeed. Since there are so many choices of readings for Easter Sunday, I'm just going to talk about the resurrection. In a video from Benedictine abbot Father Jeremy Driscoll, he says that the central event in all human history is the death and resurrection of Jesus. The central event in all human history. Is that how you and I see it? I'll add the question, why is it the central event in human history? The Catechism of the Catholic Church gives several reasons, and I'll boil them down to two. One, it proves Christ's divinity. It proves that he has authority even over death. And secondly, it gives us the opportunity for our own resurrection. As Christ rose from the dead, we too have the opportunity to rise from the dead. And that gives our life hope and meaning here on earth. Now, perhaps we've heard about the resurrection all our lives, and to some extent, I hate to say it, maybe take it for granted. Well, back to Father Driscoll in his video. He relates a story from Cardinal Topo of India. There was a young man in India who was hanging around a Catholic school asking questions. So they gave him a copy of the Gospels. He came back astonished and demanded that they confirm what he had read. Did Jesus really rise from the dead? Why didn't you tell me? Let's look at the resurrection through that young man's eyes for what it is, astonishing. A world-changing event, and it can be a life-changing event for us. So I'm telling you now, yes, Jesus really rose from the dead. He rose in his body, the same body he had on earth, now glorified. He was not a ghost. Now, you may ask, and many have, and it's proper to ask, how do we know that he really rose? Well, I'm going to give you several solid reasons. One proposal against the resurrection is that Jesus didn't die on the cross. He simply swooned from loss of blood and was later revived. No way. Roman soldiers ensured that no one survived the crucifixion. If someone had, they themselves would have been executed. And not only that, we have eyewitness testimony recorded in John 19:34-35, when the soldier thrust his lance into Jesus' heart and his precious blood and water poured out, which is a sure sign of death. Other proposals center around the apostles. One is that the apostles faked the resurrection by stealing his body. Well, we were just talking about Roman soldiers, and they were definitely not followers of Jesus, but they give us a solid reason to reject that idea. In Matthew 27:62-65, the chief priests and Pharisees proposed this themselves, that Jesus' followers might steal his body. And so they went to Pontius Pilate, and he granted them a Roman guard over the tomb. So there was no way that these soldiers would have let anyone steal the body, because again, they themselves would have been executed. Now in Matthew 28:11-15, it records how after the resurrection, the Jewish leaders bribed the guards to say that the apostles stole the body while they slept, which also would have been punishable by death, them sleeping on the job, and promised to smooth things over for them with the Roman leaders. Well, I'll refute that one in a minute, but for right now, there's no way that these soldiers would have stayed asleep while someone was trying to roll away that huge stone. Another idea is that Jesus' body remained in the tomb and the apostles lied about the resurrection. There are many answers to this, but I'll give two of what I think are the strongest ones. First, think of human nature. Would it be possible for the remaining 11 apostles to maintain this lie, especially in the face of all the persecution that they faced. Remember, all but one of them were killed. They were martyred. And the remaining one, St. John, was exiled to the island of Patmos. We can be confident that one of them would have cracked under all that pressure. And probably more to the point, if they had lied, what was in it for them? Maybe some passing fame, but again, it didn't take long for the persecution to start, and any benefit that they might have had from lying would have evaporated. So there was no reason for the apostles to maintain a lie. Far from it. And these same reasons also refute the idea that they stole the body while the guards slept. As we just discussed, that would have been impossible to begin with. And again, the apostles would have had no motivation. I'm going to throw in one more reason. In 1 Corinthians 15:6, St. Paul writes that the resurrected Jesus was seen by more than 500 brothers at once. And he says most of them are still living, though some have fallen asleep. 500 men at once saw the resurrected Jesus. It's almost as if Paul was saying, there they are. Go talk to them. So we have the testimony of the resurrection from the obvious desire of the Roman soldiers at the crucifixion and guarding the tomb to stay alive. We have the apostles themselves, most of whom were simple men with nothing to gain by lying or stealing the body, especially when they themselves faced death. Remember how frightened they were the night Jesus was arrested? They all ran away. Yet, after the coming of the Holy Spirit at Pentecost, they boldly went out and preached the resurrection. Something powerful had happened to them. Through our baptism and confirmation and participation in the Eucharist, you and I can have a share in that same power, which can give us the joy and hope of our own resurrection, especially as we celebrate on this glorious Easter day, the central event in all human history. Christ is risen. He is risen indeed.